I'm Kristina Mand-Lakhiani, co-founder of Mind. Welcome to my honest conversation. And my guest today is Sara Schulting Kranz, a professional coach, wilderness guide, acclaimed author, TEDx speaker, executive producer of Walk Through This, a documentary feature in the production of her healing journey in nature, and a single mom of 3 amazing sons. As a multiple trauma survivor, Sara coaches individual men and women through their life-shifting journeys of healing and transformation. And today we are going to be talking about manifestation through healing, but I want to talk first about the adversities in life. I actually, so I told my guest that I have given an interview to you, so I was looking forward to this conversation. It's nice to talk to people you know a little bit, but better than people completely off the street. But also know that you are having a pretty hard time right now, and you keep going. How does that work? Like, I know you talk about healing, manifestation through healing, but personally, I'm a super private person, and very often when I'm going through hard times, it takes me a really long time to process and to get back into the rut. Well, not a good word, but truth. And yes. I have had cases where I have to go on stage and speak about happiness while feeling intensely unhappy, and then I start feeling like a fraud. And do I have the moral and ethical right? So can you comment on that? Because I guess we all go through adversity from time to time, and how do we take it?
Yes, absolutely. So are you talking about my breakup? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yes, my breakup. So I am actually a pretty private person as well, as wild as that seems. I don't enter into relationships lightly because my values in my relationships, including even this, like, I don't just jump into things and do them without really feeling into, is this right? First of all, for me, for my heart, for my soul, for my body, for my spirit. And then, is it right for my children? And then, is it right for my community? And when I say community, I mean my family, my friends, my followers, the people that I wrote the book for, all of it. And so this is interesting. I have this belief that, and it was taught to me by my father when I was 17 and went through my very first trauma. It was walk the walk, don't simply talk the walk. And so I went through a major, major trauma at the age of 17 and came out of it, I would say, the other side. Probably that was the foundation, became the foundation of who I am today. And so I learned at a very, very young age, at the age of 17, the importance of walking what you're preaching. And so I see way too many people out there that are preaching, but are not living in what they're preaching. And so when I go public with stuff, because I am going through a breakup right now, it's my first relationship, my first true, I would say, relationship where I was like, yes, I am going to do this and I'm going to step into this. And it's my first one in 8 years where I literally was like, I took him home to my family. I did all the things, right? And I manifested this man. This is why manifesting is so important. I literally manifested this relationship while I was in the mountains for 22 days on a backcountry trip for myself. I was working through a lot of worthiness. I was working through which I still am. Like, I believe that this is a continual this is a practice that I live every day, right? So it's not just like, oh, she's out there just preaching it and not doing it. I literally do this every single day. I live and breathe what I preach. And because of that goes into, people wonder sometimes, how do you go through this so fast? How do you heal so quickly? Which, by the way, this is a continuum, right? I'm still healing from the trauma when I was 17. I'm still healing from the trauma from when I was 40. I'm healing from the breakup. The thing is, though, is that when you've walked the walk and you're not just preaching it, when you have healed from your traumas, when you've been working on your traumas for so long, since I was 17, I'm not brushing them under the rug. It's literally like, it's this process of continual growth, right? And so it's not, I don't feel like a fraud because I'm doing what I'm preaching. So, And so I think that that's a really important piece, is with others that are also following people and they're looking up to them, make sure it's the ones that are doing the work. Don't just follow the people that are preaching it, because here's the thing, when we do that, and then we realize that, oh my gosh, they're not even doing what they're preaching, we get let down. Right. And so I don't want, like, my whole thing is, I don't want people to look at me as somebody that's just preaching it. Like, because I'm not. This is something where I work on it all the time. I also don't put stuff out there until I'm ready to, until I know that, like, I'm ready to share this now, because I'm very private. Yes, I'm very conscientious of that. And I also have 3 sons. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're my bubble. They might be 30, 20, and 15, but they're still my bubble. Like, they are my everything. And so I'm very careful about that as well.
You know, I understand that we all want to learn from people who actually have gotten the experience, and not just don't just have theoretical knowledge. Even if we take business for instance, it's better to learn how to grow a successful business from a person who has actually experienced certain hardships. Yeah. I know my own story. My first attempt at business independently, I was successful very fast. And the first 3 years, I thought I was a wonderful child, like, you know, the miracle child. But then the hardships started, and then only I was like, oh, now I get it. But when you're in the process, it's a little harder. So another question, I'll spin it a little bit. Yes. So you teach manifestation, and then you manifest a man, and then he disappears. In my case, it would be maybe another example, but don't you sometimes feel like, oh my God, I failed?
No. No. Here's the thing. In manifesting, so okay, do you mind if I kind of back up really quick? So
absolutely not.
You know, okay, so manifesting is not some voodoo thing. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, I'm just wishing, I'm just hoping. It's not like that. I think, you know, in fact, I know, because I know from experience. Here's the thing. We as humans are such powerful, amazing creatures. We underestimate our connection to everything in this world, including what's happening right here, right? We don't even understand the depth of the energy that is between us, between nature, between you know, community, between friends, between love. Like, there's so much energy there. And the interesting thing about manifestation is that I didn't even realize what I was doing, truthfully. I was like, it was kind of like manifesting behind the scenes is what I was doing, I guess you could say, during my healing. When I'm just going to give you a couple of examples here. When I sold my house, I just knew, like, I don't do anything until, like, I have that sacral beat drop, right? Like that part of us that's really deep within us, where you just know, like, you know, right? So when I'm ready to step into a space of up leveling into something, I know, because I can feel it. I can feel it in my gut. I can feel it down low, where I'm just like, okay, now I'm ready for this. When I actually step into that space of I'm ready for this, okay, that's when the manifestation, it's almost like it goes, you're just up leveling to that new space. I did this when I sold my house a few years ago, and I remember I was at a space of, like, I just need to change. It was the house that I had with my husband and my children, and the house across the street opened up to rent, and I was like, okay, cleanse. I'm going to go through this cleansing space, and I loved the house I was in, but I also knew that I had to take that leap into something new so that I could then up level into my next space of whatever was, you know, ahead of me. And so I had my real estate agent, who's a dear friend, and I called him and I said, hey, listen, I'm ready to sell my house. Everybody is telling me not to, because it's hard to get into the market down in California. And I know from my heart and my soul that this is the right thing to do. And I told him, this is who I want to actually have into my home. I want family of 5 with a dog, and I want them to redo the house as I wanted to do it in my family life. And I want it done by Memorial Day. And he said, well, I don't know how we're going to find that. And I said, here's the deal. It's done already. And this is the power of manifestation. It's done already. I know that it's time. And so, because if I can feel it in the sacral beat of my really down low, right? I know that it's already figured out. The universe, God, faith, whatever you want to call it, it's done. It's time. And so now our job is just to put it into practice. Our job is just to take the steps there. So what do you think happened? Family of 5, dog, redid my house exactly as, and I love them. They're such an incredible family. And I knew that it was time for somebody else to pick up where I was also ready to let go of, right? So it's this space of when you're ready, you just know, like you know, and my clients hear me say that all the time, you just know. And there's steps to doing it too, right? Now, when it comes to this love of my life, this chapter's, it's not over. It's not over. And so I manifested it. It was amazing. And it still is, like, this process of living in the space of now knowing what I can step into, right, is incredible. It's the most magical space to live in. So this is the other space that I want to remind people of. There is no such thing as failure. There just is. And so we look at things like, oh, I manifested that and it didn't work out. My relationship was a failure. It's not a failure. It's a lesson. And so I don't look at my marriage as a failure. I look at it as one huge step that was there for me to learn from, so that then I can step into what is next. This space, this relationship that I had, that I can still say is within me, right? That I have, because it doesn't go away. It's literally like it's there. It's this depth of learning from it and being able to, it was a space that I didn't even know I could step into, right? Like I was working through so much worthiness stuff in my past because of my ex-husband and the relational betrayal trauma that I had already, was healing from, that I didn't even know that was possible. I haven't laughed like that probably in forever with another human being, with a man, and I learned so much about myself. It literally was the most magical time. It doesn't mean it's over, right? What it was, it wasn't a failure. What it was my next step into the manifestation of whatever is next. So I think of it as like the most amazing healing energy that was put under it, so that I can now step into whatever it is. I mean, who knows? Maybe someday he'll come back. I don't know. Beats me, and that's okay. And that's okay. It's a beautiful thing.
I was also, as I was listening to you, I was wondering, does that mean that, the thing that broke off right now is in a way the beginning of the manifestation of something which is about to come?
100%.
But I want to ask a slightly different question, because I want to go into healing and manifestation. But first, you're saying that when you're ready, so for someone to learn manifestation, does that mean that they also need to learn a certain level of confidence? Because people are different, and there are people who doubt themselves, the world, the universe, everything, even if they're ready. Let's say, objectively speaking, ready, like they have the skills, the knowledge, what it takes, but they still keep doubting. So does that mean that you actually need to have a certain level of confidence to manifest things?
No. And I love this so much. Like, this is such a juicy conversation. I love this stuff. So I used to be an art teacher, and at one time, and I look at life as this experience, this beautiful piece of art that we get to play with, right? And so when it comes to manifesting, I always tell people, have fun with it, play with it. So when I was going through these 22 days of, let me back up really quick. So when I was going through this manifestation of this particular relationship, I was going on the John Muir Trail for 22 days. I always take at least 7 to 9 days a year, and I go into nature and I backpack and I play and I bring that child within me up to just, to really experience life through awe and wonder, and to heal, right? I'm 48 now. And so I've been doing this for a while. Well, about the last 4 years is when I've been doing this, like, deep into nature for, 7 to 9 days. When I was going through this manifestation, I was on there for 22. my book had released or was just about to release, sorry. And I thought I was going to be out there manifesting the book into the world. Like it was going to be going out there. Like literally, this is what I thought. That was my intention of this trip. I got there and I witnessed people getting engaged on the trail, literally 2 on day 1. I've never seen anybody get engaged in the mountains before. And it was when I got to the top of Clouds Rest in Yosemite National Park and I witnessed this and I'm crying and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not here for my book. I'm here for freaking myself, for love. Like, what? Right? And so I literally was standing up there going, okay, universe, I'm listening. So here's the thing. It's awareness, right? It starts with awareness. And I realized that for a lot of people that their courage may not be there to be able to step into that, but you're being handed little bits of information from whatever you want to call it, universe, God, spirits, whatever. You're being handed little bits of information all the time, even right now, right? And when we can actually look at those little bits of information as almost like breadcrumbs, right? Of like, this is what you're ready for. We're listening and our awareness towards it gets heightened. And so then we can have the courage to literally follow it, almost like you're a little child, right? And say, okay, this is now what I'm ready for. When I was up there, when I was on the mountains, and I want, please, everybody listen to this one very, very carefully, because my worthiness and I've always had a lot of self-love, but coming out of relational and betrayal trauma, where I found out my husband was cheating on me for 14 of 17 years, my worthiness was at such an all-time low that I thought about taking my life. And so understand that coming out of something like that, I did not realize that I was even worthy for this, which is why I went on the trail for those. And I'm not saying you got to go on it for 22 days, right? That's not it at all. But listening to the breadcrumbs and being aware of what the universe was handing me was also my awareness in, Sarah, you're brave enough to step into this. You are courageous enough to step into this. You are ready for this. And most importantly, you are worthy of this. And so when I was on the trail meditating and manifesting, my senses were, and I really like my senses, my taste, my touch, like all of it became at such a heightened level as I was, hiking up those peaks and saying to myself, I am worthy of the big love. Mm-hmm. I am worthy of big love. Even through all that I have been through, I know that I'm worthy of this. And so through that process of stepping into it and being courageous and brave, I'm also healing all of my past. Do you see what I'm saying here? That's why it's so important. And really being able to just open up our possibilities into what the universe is actually handing to us. That's why I'm saying there's no failure in it.
You said, I'm ready and I'm worthy of love, but that's not quite the same. I'm sticking to relationships as an example because it's in a way easy to understand, and also it doesn't completely depend on you. So, right. which is kind of a cool example. So, right. What's the difference between knowing that you're worthy, that you're love worthy, for example, and you're actually ready for something new?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. So, with me, I'm just going to use myself as an example. I was ready for a long time, quite frankly. Like I was ready. I was writing my book during COVID and I'm like, I'm just ready for this. I'm just ready for this. And there was this push pull of like, I'm ready for it, but why am I not stepping into it? Right? Like I still couldn't quite understand why I was accepting my not stepping into it. Right? And so the worthiness piece comes from that depth, that really deep love of self, and also understanding. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit too in this. My ex-husband had been betraying me with men for 14 years. And so my worthiness, So my worthiness was not only about, am I worthy for the love, but my worthiness was knowing that I wasn't even as a woman, right? My feminine side wasn't being honored for so long. My worthiness was even more on that than it was in anything. Am I worthy of stepping into this feminine space, and what does this look like? And then it's, and there was so much there around just that aspect in and of itself. And so when I was stepping into the space of worthiness. It was this worthiness of being cared for in a way that I hadn't been. I thought I had been, but I wasn't for all of those years. It was this worthiness of being loved in a different kind of way than I was all of those years. This worthiness of being taken care of stepping into the space of the fact that I have so many men around me. I mean, masculine energy, my gosh, from my boys and my brothers, like it was just a lot of masculine energy around me. So for me, it was being able to then being worthy of stepping into my feminine side, showing that and not having it being taken advantage of. And so was I ready for it? I was 1,000% ready for it. I craved it the first years out of my recovery, craved it. My intimacy and being held as a woman. The worthiness piece was separate from that because of also the fact that I thought like my feminine side was being literally used in a way that really crushed me. And so there's a difference in it. And there's also this space of when you're ready for it, it's stepping out of that comfort zone. For me, it was stepping out of that comfort zone and being able to step into something that I'd never done before. I had never done that before, right? And knowing now that I can do that, and wow, does it feel good? Wow, does it feel good? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's actually it actually put it a little bit the other way around in my head, because I thought very often when we say, okay, I'm ready, that means you're ready, but actually the readiness may come before the worthiness. So that's a shift for me. But I also have to backstep a little bit, because I should have started the conversation with the basics, because yes, we're talking about manifestation, a word that we all hear and use often, but we don't really define precisely what it means. It has this slightly magical tint to it. So I want you to actually explain, what does it mean to actually manifest? It might sound like a very simple question, but I think it's good to start a conversation with definition so that we are talking about the same thing.
Right. I'm glad you brought this up. So manifestation for me, and I agree. I think it's kind of like that word forgiveness, right? Like
or love or happiness.
I had this conversation in a closed Facebook group about this. Somebody was totally downing forgiveness. And I said, and I literally asked, what is your definition of forgiveness? Because forgiveness for me is a pretty deep tool that has helped me immensely in my healing. So it's interesting. So manifestation.
Wait, before you answer, guys, you're actually also welcome to answer in the comments what you think manifestation is.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
I would love to know. Manifestation for me is the space of being very intentional on what it is that you want in your lifetime, right? It's about tasting it, feeling it, opening your senses to it. What is it that I truly want from my heart and my soul? Not my mind, not my mind. Our brain tends to play tricks on us sometimes, right? It's like this is more of a societal space. I like to think of manifestation as completely coming from your heart and your soul. What is it from this space that you are being called to, right? And then it's it's literally stating it, being very intentional about it, knowing from here, okay, that's the space that I want to be living from. And then it's literally calling out the things that's holding you back from it. So for me, it was that worthiness piece. When I was stepping into this relationship, it was the worthiness piece. And I knew that was one of my barriers. And so it was literally about meditating on that while I was connected to something so much larger than myself, which is for me, universe, nature, right? Going through the mountains and just really feeling into it with my heart and my soul. And then also about, and then the next phase of it for me is also, and I know this is a long definition of it, but hopefully it helps with just explaining it also. And then what it is also like really putting it out there and saying, it's already finished. It's already done. I did this with my literary agent. I did this with my publisher. I've done this with my house. I've done literally everything where you just know, that it's already done. And all you're doing is taking the steps to it. Right. And then it's literally surrendering to what is possible in understanding that you're not in control. The universe is literally in control, because we want to control the outcome of everything, right? We want to control the outcome of our divorce. We want to control the outcome of our kids. We want to control the outcome of literally like, well, but I thought my child was going to be a doctor. Okay. Whose life is that, right? Yeah. And so literally surrendering to that and saying, I'm not in control here. I have so much faith in knowing that my life is unfolding for me, not to me. And so that is, that's the process, I guess you could say, also of manifestation. And here's why it's really important in healing. It's important in healing because we don't want to stay attached to our traumas. At the same time that we are healing through all of the things that we've lived through, we also want to have this belief and this utmost faith that everything in our lifetime, everything in this living moment is also for us, not happening to us. And so when we can actually surrender control to it and say, this is what I know is out there. It's not a goal. I don't look at it as a goal. It is literally this beautiful space of living that we are ultimately here just working towards, right? Or living towards, I would say. And so that's my definition of manifestation in a also process, I guess you could say.
So guys, actually, thank you for your comments as well. Actualizing and believing it can happen. Well, there's a long comments here. So, and by the way, somebody said I'm having goosebumps listening to you, Sara.
Oh, and I just got goosebumps. This is what I'm saying. It's like this. It's this. That just gave me goosebumps. This is the energy behind it, and that's why I look. Here's the thing. I did not set out to do any of this. Like literally did not. And this is the power of manifestation as well, and surrendering to it. When I found out at the age of 40 that my husband, when I had this, and it was horrific. That first year going through that from 40 to 41 was more devastating than what I went through at 17. And what I went through at 17 was pretty bad. And you know, the thing is that even through what I went through at 17, I kept having these hits of like, there's something here that is at play and I don't know what it is. I never talked about it. I was never, when I say I never talked about it, I mean, I never talked about the messages that I was receiving and the you know, God-given hits and the connection that I was feeling to nature, because I don't know, because I thought, okay, people are going to think I'm kind of crazy. And I just kept walking it and following the breadcrumbs along the way. And then when this happened at 40, I was like, oh, that hit that I had at the age of 18, when I was told in my mind, in my heart, that I was going to write a book someday. I get it. I get why it didn't come into fruition. It was because my story wasn't ended. So, you know, we literally are such amazing creatures all together right now on this earth at this time. Like literally in this space that we're in right now. And it is the most beautiful act of living, right? And so don't disregard that gift. Don't disregard your breath and the fact that you're here right now.
Sara, I know there are questions coming in. You're welcome to keep them coming. Bianca, if you could start looking for someone to bring on, but I still have 2 questions I have to ask. So, question number 1 is, you know, as I was listening to your definition of manifestation, this logical perfectionist in me started wondering, is manifestation, and sorry, the question might sound weird, is this a binary thing? You know, like, it's like a trick in a show. Here's the rabbit out of the hat, and if it's not a rabbit, it's a failure. So is manifestation something binary, or is it more of a process towards something which is maybe bigger than you, or maybe not necessarily completely clear to you yet? How do I know that I'm actually manifesting, that I'm not rumbling in the forest?
So here's the thing. Do you question a beautiful butterfly that like floats in front of you right when you are needing to have a little hope? Do Do you question when you are, and I'm sharing this with you because let me give you a couple of examples that have happened to me when I've been on my retreats with people. Okay. We were all in conversation. I guide retreats in the Grand Canyon, healing retreats. I take men and women down in, and we do nature healing. We meditate. It's somatic healing at its best. We manifest a lot. Okay. And I always ask people, what do you want to see? What is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to, in terms of, nature, whatever it is, when you're down in here? There was one woman who said to me, I want to see a rainbow. She loves rainbows. I want to see a rainbow. I was like, well, okay, let's start manifesting that, right? And it was we were down there for 4 days, 4 days of complete sun, no rain, perfect weather. I mean, I was like, not a cloud in the sky. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens here. Let's work on this. Let's literally feel into it, manifest this. We were hiking out the very last day on the Bright Angel Trail, and we were out at this beautiful peak. It's one of my favorite peaks. And we were walking up the trail, and all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, the most amazing rainbow around the sun that you could ever see. I had never seen a sundog like that before. Mm-hmm. And, and I said, look up, like, this is it. This is your sign. This is the manifestation of, right? I have seen so many moments of manifestation that you can't deny it. It's literally like, why push away what's in front of you? Mm-hmm. Right? Why push away the moments of literally gifts that are in front of you? That's from our head. That's because we have society telling us to. We are in this logical space of literally like, well, that can't be, or of course that's just a coincidence, or it's that. A child doesn't push it away. Mm-hmm. So if a child doesn't push it away, that's why I say there isn't even, I don't believe in failure, because we don't tell our kids, don't do that, you might fail. So why do we do that to ourselves as adults? And so when I started writing my book, I literally started with, bring that child from within you to play. When you are in your healing journey, bring them up, let them play with you, because children don't question awe and wonder. Mm-hmm. Children don't question the things that are handed to us. They just sit with them and they go, wow, that is the most beautiful sundog ever. And of course that would happen, because that's what I wanted, right? That's what I was calling in. And so this space of adult, logical, societal, mind, we literally are a very mindset society. We question everything. And I literally stopped doing that when I was like 41, 42. You know what it was? It was also the day that I was stuck out in fog on my paddleboard. I paddle on the ocean a lot. And so that's my healing space as well. And I was 4 miles offshore and literally straight out on the Pacific Ocean. And I looked up and there was this massive fog bank coming my way. And I'm like, great, now I'm stuck out here. I don't like this, like, what did I get myself into, right? And I remember sitting there and going, okay, I'm going to play a little Pocahontas here. Anybody watch Pocahontas? It's a great movie. I have children, watched it many times. And I flipped my board around and I listened to nature, and I followed the wave, and I followed the swells, and I followed the current. And I was literally within me asking for guidance, get me back to shore, get me back to the mouth of the harbor. I know that I'm not out here alone. And all of a sudden these dolphins came out of nowhere. They literally helped me, they guided me in, along with my listening to everything around me. And I remember during that space when I pulled my board up onto the dock that day, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, isn't this interesting? So many times we hold ourselves back because of fear, when we can actually just step into the excitement of life and let it unfold. We are being guided all the time, right?
That does require some courage for a lot of people. So the last question before I pass the floor to other people who want to maybe ask the question. Manifestation and healing, what's the connection exactly? Is it that you have a good chance to manifest while you're healing, or do you heal past trauma as well? You manifest, or I don't know, how's the connection there? What's how do you use the two?
Okay, so PTSD, which I've lived, I've had complex PTSD coming out of everything. You can actually, when you're in nature, you can PTSD symptoms will go down 29%. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why, and I'm giving a little like sciencey woo-woo in here. The reason why is because the frontal lobe of our brain slows. That's what we are constantly using. The back part of our brain rises. That's our cerebellum. And what happens is we are sitting in awe and wonder. And awe and wonder are one of the most, they are the most important feelings, the most important thing that we can step into when it comes to PTSD. Because our body slows, it somatically heals. It's so important to be able to experience awe and wonder when you are going through the healing process, especially from complex PTSD or PTSD of any type. So manifestation, when you think of manifestation, is sitting in awe and wonder, right? Mm. Right. You see what I'm saying here? So you're getting out of your head. Anybody that, and I could go way into this, and that's why I have this part in my book about this as well. If you've read The Body Keeps the Score, right? That's the book about how trauma literally stays in our cells and it manifests into disease, right? It manifests into other things. We don't want that. And so what we want to do is we want to heal from our traumas so that we can actually live the best life imaginable. If we are stepping into nature where our brain actually slows, where we're connected to something so much larger than ourselves, we get out of the four walls of not only our brain, but of the four walls that we are living in. And we see life through awe and wonder. And we can actually manifest and look at and feel into what we want our greatest life to be in, to be like. We're not staying in the trauma itself. We're literally releasing the trauma from our body while also experiencing the awe and wonder and what is possible. Now, this is where I say release expectations, release, surrender to what's possible, because what happens is we sometimes get attached to, that's what I was saying, we get attached to the outcome. And I thought this was going to happen. Well, guess what? It's happening for you, not to you. That's a part of the process into what is next, right? And it's truly about having faith, a lot of faith as well, into, having faith within yourself, understanding yourself. Is this deep belief in self. And it's like continuously feeding the flame within us, that light within us.
I really like that you do mention the fact that sometimes you manifest and it doesn't happen, and it's really important to be how to say, to be okay with things not always going your way. So
yeah, again, like, this wasn't what I set out to do, right? And it's also clearly what I was meant to do. So,
Sara,
yeah, go ahead.
We do have Kelly here. I know I'm very talkative, so I want to pass the word to Kelly.
I am, yeah.
Give you a chance. So Kelly, you can unmute yourself. Here's your virtual mic. You can have it.
This is amazing. Sara, thank you so much. This has been so profound. My question I posed was finding those steps toward the manifestation. Like, I totally understand what you're saying about just embracing the environment, the signs, the cues, being aware with your heart and your soul and not your mind. I'm getting peppered with it's almost like too much chatter and how to make sense of all of those little pieces. So I'm searching for, how do you, I don't know, find a greater awareness or dial in on what can truly be signs of what you're not trying to manifest, but being open to. It's almost too much going on. Does that make sense?
Okay. Totally. First of all, you're beautiful. Thank you for being here. You have two white lights coming down on you, by the way, which is really
sorry.
Cool. No, keep them there. That's what I'm saying. That's
it's my aura.
Keep them there. It's your aura. That's what I'm saying. You're literally like right between them. It's amazing. So here's what I want to, you said searching for. And so there's always those words that I catch on to, and I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. Stop searching. So right there, I can tell you that I literally in that moment, let me ask you this. I feel where even saying that allowed you to switch. So when I said stop searching, where did you go in your body?
That was deep right here in the solar plexus, almost sacral. That's a form of control when you're searching. You're trying to control the outcome. I see.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. So even going through this breakup, it's for me, when people ask me, they're like, but I thought that, and that's their control over the situation. Right. And so what I want you just to do is to listen from low, not from up here. Searching everywhere else isn't going to work because it's already here. Got it. Yeah. That makes sense. The other thing that I'm going to give it to everybody is, and please, 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 just take 5 minutes and do this today. Just please. Think about, go back into, not even think about, feel into when you were a little girl or a little boy. Okay. All right. So what did you like to do when you were a little girl or a little boy? Going outside. I mean, when you were outside, what did you like to do? Oh,
playground was huge. The more slide runs I could take, the better. Kick the can, hide and go seek, neighborhood kids.
Okay. Chills, because that's exactly what I used to do too. So literally kick the can was one of my favorite. Yes. Late at night, the best, under the stars. Okay. Yes. You can do this. There's two things that I'm going to say here that are coming up to me. Go find yourself a set of swings. And I really mean this. Go find yourself a set of swings. And I want you to go sit on a swing. And I want you to swing like you did when you were a little girl. And I want you to kick those legs up high. And I want you to close your eyes and feel the breeze on your body. Right? And I want you to literally go back to the moment when you were a child. That's it. And then the other thing, if you want to, go find a can, literally. We're just leaving a full moon. It's the most beautiful moon I have seen in a very, very long time. Yeah. Go outside under the stars, look up at the moon, kick the can, and go back to that time and place when you were a child. That's all you got to do, right? We as adults try to control. Bring the little girl up, the little boy up, if you're listening and you're a man. Bring that person up, that iteration of self when you were that little person within you, and let them play in this magical space as an adult. We squash them. I don't understand why we squash them, but we do, because that's what we've been taught to do. You're not a kid. Don't act like a kid. That's actually the most beautiful space you can be in.
Okay. I can do that.
Yes. And then do me a favor and let me know how it works.
I will.
Please let me know how it works. The other thing is really start paying attention to, and this is a really important thing too, when you get signs. Okay, so for me lately, it's been 444, 1111, 111, like I mean 333. Like, it's very interesting to me. I was out on the water a couple of days ago on my paddleboard, and no dolphins anywhere. And then I was talking to one of my dear friends about a former friend, a dear friend of ours, who went through a really difficult time in her life. And right when we were talking about it, all these dolphins came up out of nowhere. Right. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Right. She's here. Like, she's here with us. And the interesting thing about it is that when you're handed those signs, stop for a moment, pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your thoughts at that moment when those signs are coming up. Ask yourself the very important question from low, from your intuition. What is this telling me right now? Not from here. And if that means you need to put your hands over your heart and just sit with it for a moment, right? Do that. And then the most important thing is, where is this coming from within my body? When I'm having this moment, what is actually hitting me? Where is it coming from within my body? Where am I feeling this? Yeah. Because our body speaks. Our body does not hold back on telling us anything. That's why it's really important to work through the healing, because in the somatic release of trauma, because it will manifest in the body, as will the signs and all of the things that are being given to you along the way as well.
That makes sense. I understand that. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited to go find a playground.
And I want you to tell me what happens.
I will share with you. Thank you, Sarah.
Please. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Kelly, for asking. And Sarah, thank you for the good homework. I really love this kind of homework. It's definitely going to be pleasurable. Guys, we are unfortunately running up to the end of our time. Since we have a shared stage, I will have to vacate it in a few moments. And that's why I want to do my closing sequence first. Please leave a heart for my guest in the comments, or I mean in the chat here, or in the comments if you're watching it in recording. Sarah, and actually another question, while you're leaving hearts, I also want to ask you, would you like to have like a workshop on manifestation with Sarah, where I'll actually give a task and shut up and let Sarah give us amazing homework?
100%. Are you kidding me? 1,000%. I would love that. I'm actually giving one today. And so that's what I'm doing at noon today.
So yeah, do share if anybody wants to. That was my next closing up question, is if people want more of you, where can they find you? How can they learn with you? Maybe, I know you coach people individually as well. So could you share that?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. Besides watching water polo from the pool deck all the time with my son, and basketball. So you can find me on Instagram at Sara Schulting Kranz. I know it's a long name. I'm assuming, will you put it into the chat or something? It's SARA
I'll put it in now.
SCHULTING KRANZ. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a long name. You can find me on Instagram at Sara Schulting Krantz. You can find me sarashultingkrantz.com is my website. I saw somebody asked what my book is. It's called Walk Through This: Harness the Healing Power of Nature and Travel the Road to Forgiveness. I did a TED Talk on forgiveness. We're working on changing the definition in society in the dictionary, which is really cool. I'm excited about that. We also have a documentary in production. It's called Walk Through This: One Woman's Story of Starting Over. And so there's lots of places you can find me. I run healing retreats in the Grand Canyon, and also we are now doing them out of Alaska. We're doing land healing through the Grand Canyon, where it's earth nature healing, and then Alaska is water healing, kayaking from Whittier, out of Whittier, Alaska. And I run online healing programs as well. So, and I do one-on-one coaching. So I do a lot of stuff.
So yeah, stay in touch with Sarah. It was such an amazing conversation. Maybe imparting one last suggestion. I know you gave us the beautiful homework, but maybe one thing to take away and keep with us for the rest of the week.
So here's what can I challenge everybody?
Yes,
on something? Okay, here's
absolutely.
what I would like to challenge you. Here's what I'd like to challenge you, because I love a good challenge. Think beyond, not think, feel into beyond your wildest dreams and manifestations of what is out there for yourself. Okay, so take 5 minutes today, go outside as you are a child, sit somewhere that is calling to you from here. So if it's on the grass, if it's against a tree, if it's lying on the grass looking at the clouds, put your hand over your heart, take some really good deep breaths. And then what I want you to do is to, from low, sit with, what is it, the wildest, my most wild dreams, my greatest manifestations that I would like in my lifetime. Here's the thing, it doesn't have to make sense. Because when you try to make sense of it, it comes from up here. I want it to come from here. And sit with that. And I would love to come back and do a workshop off of what comes to them from here, right? And how do we take that 5 minutes that we just took for ourselves and manifest into the greatest desires that we want in this lifetime? That's my homework for you. Because it's possible, I'm telling you. I've done a lot of it.
Thank you, Sarah, so much. You definitely gave me a lot of food for thought and manifestation.
You are so welcome. Thank you for being here, everyone. I truly, truly appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone. And bye-bye. See you soon again.
Okay, great. Thank you.